Hey, what's up? This is Matt Dietz, and this is Agency Launch. This is the show where I talk to you about running an insurance agency. I'll talk to you about what it means to have good sales and marketing systems in place, and what it means to put good staffing in place, and how to train them, and how to get them up to speed, and how to delegate, and how to hire, and how to fire, and then how to give excellent service. All the things that you need to know about running an agency is what this podcast is about. Today's episode is a little bit different. So I had an opportunity to sit down with another agent who interviewed me about what my training platform is like. And this is the first time in almost 3 years I've done a really deep dive into my product. I know I talk about it. I know some of you have gone on, and many of you have purchased and are using the platform, but this is for those of you who are interested. I do a really deep dive with Mariah's help into what this course will do for you. I talk a lot about how agents need to invest in their own education and their own training. And sometimes it baffles me that agents are willing to spend money on things that do not produce policies when they can spend a significantly less amount of money in their own training. I'm trying to teach you how to fish. And my program right now is significantly underpriced, and it is there for you. So if you've ever been interested or want to know, I go through all the modules. I'll tell you what's in there. And this program, I promise you, will accelerate your career by a couple of years if you work it. This is the real work that needs to be done on the ground. And I just wanted to share it with you. So this is the conversation I had with Mariah. Mariah, thank you for having me on and talking to me about it. And let's get into it. Got it.
Okay, so welcome to another recorded demo that we're doing for the Insurance Automation Group. I've got Matt Dietz here with us, and he's going to be talking about his program called Agency Launch. Matt is a farmer's agent, actually in my own district. He's just not far from me. We're in different buildings, but has been an agent for how many years now?
It's going on 18 years now.
Okay. So just a little bit of experience.
Yeah.
And has developed this really awesome program for agents that has just incorporated his, knowledge of being an agent as well as owning a business. And it's just chock full of really cool stuff. So I'm going to turn it over to Matt and let him talk about the program. He might show us little parts of it too. And then I'm just going to ask questions. I haven't seen the program, so I'm going to ask questions just like hopefully most of you viewers are going to have. And we'll just go from there. So Matt, I'll turn it over to you and let you get started.
Cool. Thanks, Mariah. I really appreciate you having me on and sharing my program. This is really something I built a couple of years ago. It's really been just a passion project. I have a background in leadership, and in my past life, I worked on college campuses where I taught students how to become adults, which is kind of a challenge. And so I learned teaching's always kind of been in my blood. It's really helped me become the agent that I am, because, with farmers agents and having such an educational approach to the way that we sell, having that background was really helpful to me. And so after I built my agency and after 15 or 16 years, I kind of had this thing in the back of my head where I've been wanting to build this for years. And a couple of years ago, I talked to my mentor, Troy. Some of you know Troy Korsgaden. And I said, Troy, I got this idea, what do you think? Should I build this out? And even before I was done asking the question, he was like, yes, Matt, you should do it. There's such a gap in training in our industry. He's like, you should do it. He's like, I've seen your stuff and that you put out on LinkedIn and with your podcast and things like that. He said, I think people would find value from it. So I decided to build it out, and I took a number of months and kind of brainstormed what I wanted to put in it. And the whole premise behind what I wanted to put in this program was, what do I wish I knew when I started my agency? And I sat down and I wrote for a couple of hours all of the things that I wish I knew, and I came up with 45 things. I just started jotting down, what do I wish I knew? What do I wish I knew? And then that's really become the backbone of the course. And then I divided them into 4 really pillars. And so they came out to be a pretty equal amount of sales, marketing, staffing, and then retention and customer service. Those 4 things, if you can do those 4 things really well in our industry, you'll be successful. I think a lot of people come into this industry Whether they're a scratch agent or they buy a book, they're coming from a different agency or a different industry. And I think they're coming with skill sets that are compatible, but they may not know how to plug those skill sets into what we do. They may be great in sales, but have no idea how to hire and train people. They may know how to hire and train people, but they might not have any idea on how to market and to create a brand. And so I'm trying to fill the holes that really smart, good people need filled, because they probably don't know everything they need. So my agency, a little background on my agency is we're a little bit different. I have about 4,400 policies in my book, and I have 2 people that work for me, and we grow year over year over year. And it took me some time to really give myself some credit. I had imposter syndrome, like many other agents out there. I wasn't giving myself credit for the work, but once I learned that we continue to grow and we continue to produce at these levels with different staff members, I've done this with 5 or 6 different teams, and we've continued to produce. I finally realized that it's the systems that I built, and it was me driving the ship, that has allowed my agency to perform the way it has. So I built it out. So do you want me to show you a little bit about like what I cover and
Yeah, go ahead and pull it up,
and
and we'll dive into it. It's actually funny you were talking about as far as the pieces that you need to have a business. I'm working in a co-work space now, and there was a business, not insurance related, but there was a guy that was talking to one of my neighbors. I can kind of overhear them talking, and they built this really cool software, and they're having a really hard, like he's a developer, and they can't find customers, right? They're having a hard time finding their customers. And he's explaining the product to me like a developer would. And I'm like, I don't understand it. You're too technical. So I kind of I peeked over there and I was like, hey, I kind of work in software too. Like, hey, maybe I can help. And basically he thought the hardest part of his business would be building the software and he had no idea how much marketing and sales it would take and didn't have those skills. And so it really doesn't matter what industry you're in, the areas that you talked about, no matter what business you have to do those things. You have to sell your product. Without sales, you have no revenue, no matter what your business is. And you have to be able to, service your customer and the product that you sell, and also develop the product potentially and market. All of those things are the core of any business. And then to be able to relate it to insurance, because there's some, compliance and nuances that people have to take into consideration. I don't think I've ever seen a course, at least that I've looked at so far, that's kind of the business end of it. Most people focus on one area. This is how you can market. This is how you can sell. Right. There's a lot of that, but I haven't ever really seen one that does everything. So I'm excited to dive into this.
Yeah, there's value in any course that you buy out there. You mentioned that earlier. I tried to give kind of a wider scope instead of a deeper scope. So there are, I think, 47 modules in this. There are a couple different ways that you can purchase it. You can buy the whole thing and unlock all of them. I originally built it in a way where it was going to feed you modules every month, because we work in a systems-based business. Like, we have to build systems, and systems take time. And if I was going to feed you 46 modules, you may not know where to start and what to build first. So the original plan was to say, all right, here's month 1. Here's what you should build in month 1. You open your agency. Here are the 4 modules that I want you to really dig into so that we can get you to month 2. And then in 30 days, month 2 would unlock and you'd have a new set of things to build. And then month 3 would unlock, and that would go for 10 months. I had some people that were impatient, and they were like, Dietz, I need all of this now. I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive. And so you can purchase it in a couple of different ways. You can do it where it unlocks monthly and you pay monthly, or you can buy the whole thing and open up all 47 modules and things like that. So this one is the full. So this is the full masterclass. There's 46 videos in here. You have to sustain 14 hours of me talking at you. That's kind of what this is. But there's also assets in here. There's spreadsheets and PDFs and all kinds of stuff in here. So let me go through all of them first, and then I'll just walk you through what it looks like. So there's so this is the sales module. So I talk about reverse setting goals and reverse engineering your numbers. I think that's crucial. And this is the time of year, the beginning of the year, that I think we should all be doing that. So this really teaches how to set your goals and teach you how to figure out how many quotes you need to make to hit your goals based on your closing ratio. So like you could set any goal you want. And what this module will teach you is how many quotes you need to make to hit your goals. So it's pretty simple. How to write 20 policies this week. This is a marketing, or this is in sales too. So I think there's an asset in here, a daily activity tracker, how to write 20. So this is a workbook on how to write 20 policies this week. Let me see if it'll open. So yeah, here it goes. So one thing about marketing is people who start off in this industry don't know how to get people to come to them. When you first start your business, you have no idea how to get in front of it. Just because you open a business, you have an agency, you've got a phone number, you might have a website, doesn't mean anybody's going to be calling you. It doesn't mean anybody knows where your website is. Like, you have got to be found. And so these are, I think, 10 tactics that I have to help people market in their first year. So everything from asking people, and not just asking people, I walk people like how to have the specific conversation, what language to use when you're talking to people, strangers, about how to get their insurance, going to chamber events and business mixers, how to use social media, cross-selling your current book, using quotes not closed, listening business. So these are just tactics on how to get in front of people so that you can sell.
But I think this is really cool because even like a lot of people, like as far as some of these topics, right? I think if we talked to somebody and said, do you ask people around you if you can write their business? People are going to say, oh, that's a good idea. Or, like, well, yeah, I've asked a few people, but they said no, and then they kind of stop. But I like how it's mapped out, like, hey, just start with one of these, right? So start building one of those into your daily routine. And It's a nice list that you can have, on your wall or on your table or whatever, and kind of work through those as you go. And I think that's a lot of what I hear from agents I talk to is they have all these ideas. They see all these ideas on social media, and there's all these cool new marketing things or, stuff that they want to do. And it's just all these ideas, and the execution's tough, but even just having it on paper and having a list in front of you, there is a ton of value just in that, having it written and having steps to follow.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. And then the core of this, I'm going to try is a video. So it's just me, blah, blah, blah. So this is a quick 6-minute video with a funny looking picture of me there. So I'm walking you through how to do each strategy. So how to write 20 policies this week. So I know automation is big with obviously this group. I started automating before there were cool products like Agency Zoom and things like that. So I actually do automation through MailChimp, and I teach how to build out automated emails using MailChimp. And so that's what's built into here. So I use automation for a couple ways for onboarding new clients. So I've got all my people in MailChimp. I teach how to upload your book of business into MailChimp. And then I teach you how to automate and to set up I think 5 emails when somebody first on board. So welcome to the Dietz Agency. This is the first email. Then the next is 30 days later. And then you got another one, maybe 2 months later. That's maybe, I think I talk about umbrella. And then I got another one about life insurance. And then when their policy renews, walking them through the renewal process. And then at month 11, hey, your policy is going to, or it's time for your review. So every time we write a new client, we plop them into MailChimp, and we know they're going to get 6 emails from us in the first year, and it just goes. I also do automation for claims. So when there's a claim that's filed, I've got emails in there that you can just copy and paste. All the work's done for you. So you can build this out and say, if there's a home claim, we set expectations on what the home claim is going to look like. Home claims they're a pain, and people will have like 2 home claims their whole life, so they have no idea what they're doing. So they don't know what the expectations are. They don't know that they're going to need to be calling, the person to put the floors down, that they're going to really need to be involved. I think a lot of people believe that once a claim is filed, just everything is going to get done magically, but it's not like that. So trying to make that with less friction for the client, setting expectations, and walking them through, checking in on them. Hey, it's been a couple of weeks since your claims filed, just making sure everything's okay. So I think that's part of the customer service module too, is how we deal with claims. Then there's some basic selling auto insurance, how I sell an auto policy. So in here, I walk agents through how I sell an auto policy line by line, very specifically. So I actually go through deck pages. I walk them through the language that I use when I'm walking them through, here's what liability is, and here's all of the stuff on how I position an auto policy. And not only that, but how to position it against what they currently are carrying. So I try and uncover gaps in their insurance. I show you how to uncover gaps, because a lot of times we are going to be higher in price, and we need to find something to sell. And so that's what I teach in there.
Yeah, I'm glad that you have that in there. I love that you have it in there. Our industry, it drives me crazy sometimes. We watch commercials on TV, and there was one the other day for a company that had like an ostrich in it, and it's nothing to do with insurance. It drives me crazy. There's no education on insurance in our society or most financial products in general. And, this whole buy on price, which of course we all know it's a factor, but if you come into the industry and you are only going to buy or sell on price, if that's the only skill you learn, and you don't learn how to explain coverages and find gaps and fill holes and add value, you could build a good big agency. But as soon as rates shift, you're going to struggle. And then your attrition is insane. Like some of these agents I talk to who just do internet leads, and they just turn and burn these sales, and they don't talk coverage at all. They give them exactly what they have, what they asked for. And they might write a lot of new business, but what a lot of people don't see is the back end of how much business are they losing every year.
Right.
And because I'm working in the automation space, I'm helping them build their system and trying to fix stuff like that. I see that. And it's amazing to me where I'm like, wow, you're writing all this business, but look at your marketing costs and look at your attrition. It's not a business model I want to have, right?
Right.
I think most of us would much rather have a much more stable client base that is with us because of the value we provide, specifically, not just because of the policy that they can purchase. At least for me, I know those are much more enjoyable clients than having to reshop someone every couple months because they're mad about their price. So vital piece. If you just think about, if you're a new agent, you're watching this, think about the type of customer you want to deal with, and then target and sell that way, because it makes a huge difference for you and your staff.
Yeah, selling this way, I learned pretty early that it's the right way to go, because I can't tell you how many times I sat down with a new client and walked them through their policy line by line. And when I was done, so many of the people that I was doing this with looked at me and said, nobody has ever done that for me before. Mm-hmm. And that's where I realized there was such a gap, between a really good agent and maybe an average agent. And we want to be a really good agent. And so if you're teaching somebody something new and you're protecting their everything that they're working so hard to gain, and you're protecting them properly, they're willing to pay more for that, and that's when I first started, my closing ratio was, 20%. So we had to quote a lot to write what we wanted to write. Over time, my closing ratio has increased significantly, and we're going to get to that a little bit later, but this is the way we did it. My company, mm-hmm. Farmers, like, we're never going to be the lowest ever, and so we have to learn to sell this way. And, mm-hmm. So I really,
and it doesn't matter if you're a farmer's agent watching this, or if you're with Allstate, or if you're independent, these are skills that will still help you, because you will run into people where you just are not, you're not going to be able to give them a lower price, but you can still give them better policy. So no matter what company you're with, this is great to know. This is a great way to sell.
Something I onboarded a few years ago was BombBomb. I think you use Loom, is that right, for video?
I've used BombBomb for years, and I just recently switched to Loom because it integrates with Agency Zoom. So it's a direct, so it's a little simpler, but same concept. Yeah. I love BombBomb. I still have my BombBomb account. We have a ton of videos in there.
Yeah. So whatever you use, like whether it's BombBomb or Loom or whatever, like video email has completely changed the way I communicate in my office. I love it so much. Like I use it. I send video emails every single day, and mm-hmm. I'm still shocked that more agents aren't flooding to these platforms, because I get email replies every day from people that are like, oh my God, that was amazing. I've never been sent a video email before. Thank you so much. Like, the response that you get continues to fuel my use of these products.
They're still new. They're not used to seeing them. It's still technically a new concept for people to get on.
Yeah. So I teach 7 ways to use BombBomb in your agency. I mean, I use it for prospecting. I use it for communicating with current clients. I use it for answering simple questions from clients who send me an email. I'll tell you my favorite trick that I use for BombBomb. I'm going to give away one of my secrets, but whenever we have a youthful driver turn 16, we send out a video to the kiddo. We use it through the parent's email, but I send a video to the kid. I'm like, hey, I'm Matt. I'm your insurance agent. I heard you just got your license. Congratulations. I'm going to tell you something that I wish I was told when I was 16, and that's how an auto policy works. And so I teach them real quick in maybe 100 seconds on the basics of an auto policy. I teach them what to do if they're involved in an accident, call the police, take pictures, call your parents, and so I do that. It's maybe a 3 or 4 minute video and I send it to the parents. The parents watch it, the kids watch it. The parents love you for it because you are telling the kids something that the parents are telling them, but it comes across differently when it's coming from me than it's coming from the parents. So it's a really, really strong retention play. Like the feedback I've gotten from parents is outstanding. And so that's one of the ways that I really like to use BombBomb. So
I love it. That's awesome. Like we all wish that, if we could go back and tell, 16 or 18-year-old us things, there'd be a whole list, right? So that's awesome to send that out to them. We've used it for screen shares with like complex billing. When someone just can't wrap their head around billing, we'll do a video and send it. And then they're like, oh, I got it. And it just saved us hours of like trying to explain it. So like you said, customer service, sales, education. I totally love the video platforms. And there's so many out there. So what Matt will teach you in BombBomb, you could do it any video platform. It's the approaches in there.
Yeah, you can build a library of answers to frequently asked questions,
which you can build a training library for your staff. Totally. You literally can do that. I've done that. I did it. And then of course we switched over to Apex and now it's all garbage. So I have to do it again, but you can do that. There's a huge agent down in New Mexico. We were talking about that for, she's like, I hate retraining. She pushes out a lot of proteges, which are like sales team members basically. And she's retraining. I'm like, dude, just record yourself doing this stuff and put it in a library and set them in front of your computer. I hired 2 staff members that way, and they were able to, from day one, freshly licensed, they were able to build their first quotes, create proposal videos through BombBomb at the time is what we were using, and sell their first policies. They would send me the videos for me to review, but they just did it through a training library. So it's really like the options are endless in creating those libraries, and those videos it's a super awesome skill.
Yeah. I started sending out more emails once I realized I can talk faster than I type. And so like, I hate writing long emails. So I just hit record and I can send out a video in a minute that would take me 3 minutes to type, and plus
there's no typos.
I'm a terrible proofreader too. And so,
yeah, me too. Same thing.
All right. So what's next? So using persuasive language. So this goes into sales too. Like when I started my agency, like I didn't know how to run an agency. I'm totally self-taught with this stuff. So one of the first things that I did was I ran to back in the day when there were bookstores like Barnes and Noble, I went to the sales and marketing, section and just bought all these books. And I've really cultivated a love of learning. I like insurance, but I love running a business and I love, figuring out how everything works and putting the puzzle together. And one of the most important things in sales is being able to be persuasive. And so I've read a lot of books about persuasion and sales and marketing and things like that. And I've kind of put together this resource on specific, language that you should be putting into your sales pitch, to help turn no's into maybes and maybes into yeses. Let me see if I can get like an example. So I've got this hot sheet on 11 phrases that will give you an unfair advantage in sales. So if you can weave these in and out of your sales presentations, you're psychologically getting advantage because these phrases are proven to be persuasive in the sales arena. And so I really like this one. That one's good. Let's see, how to be aggressive when chasing business. So that one is really just about, we have to be able to chase business. Like you mentioned earlier, Mariah, some people will try something and they'll try it once and then they'll give up. Like when it comes to you have to enjoy chasing business. So when you're working quotes, we're working and living in a day and age where it's really easy to ignore a phone call. It's easy to ignore or delete an email, so you were talking about, setting up something so that I think it takes an average of 8 to 12 asks to get a sale. And I think that number is continuing to increase. So this is just talking about how you can chase business and stay in front of people in an organized fashion. So there's a tracker worksheet there. So how many touches are you getting, when you're chasing people? So it's a real simple Excel spreadsheet. Here are my 20 prospects. Email, call, quote, or email, call, text, email, call, text. So you can see where you are with everybody. I know that's part of Agency Zoom too, but again, I built this before Agency Zoom, but
Oh yeah.
but that's
Well,
there for
and
you too.
I think at the end of the day, right, the idea is tracking. So I came from Chase Bank before I became an insurance agent, and there was a process, there was a system, there was a tracker for literally everything. And when I came into insurance, I was shocked how that just doesn't exist.
I
And
know.
even today, while there's been the CRMs have hit the insurance industry for several years now, the one I use and you use, the Agency Zoom, started in 2016, so it's still fairly new, but there's a lot of them now. But there's still agents. Like I talk to agents all the time, big agents. There's a big, huge middle market commercial agent I'm talking to right now. They run their entire agency on an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
at least they're tracking, but that's better than some. There's others that are running them out of their paper files and their desks. So if you're tracking, you're doing better than most. And then now there's just a lot more electronic tracking that's a little easier to use. But at the end of the
Totally.
day, the concept is the same. You have to
Yep.
know your numbers. And it doesn't matter what business you're in. No matter
Nope.
what business you're in, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know where you're missing, where you're succeeding. You have to understand what's going on in that business.
Absolutely. I teach how to cross sell. This platform, as you're going to see, I think you're going to find value in, because my goal is for one agent's for the whole agency to use this. So I just don't want the agent to be going through all this. I want them to share it with their staff. And so, a pretty large percentage of what's in here should be shared with your team. And like, this is one example is, cross-selling. So how to cross-sell your book of business. I mean, your team is going to be the one who's going to be answering the phones, who's on the front lines talking to your clients. And so they need to be, their radar has to be up with every phone call on what else can I add to this account. They should be scanning. Do they have life? Do they have umbrella? Is this a monoline? They should be identifying what options there are to grow this account. And so that's what this module is for, is how to teach your team how to cross sell. Because plus we all know the larger the account, the longer they stay with you. I mean, it's pretty simple. If you're a monoline client, I don't remember the numbers, but a monoline client may stick with you for 11 months. If you have 2 lines of business, it goes to like 18. 3 lines goes to like 3 years. 4 lines or more, you're going to have them for like 5 or more years. So the richer the account, the longer you're going to have them. And retention is so important to us that this should be really a priority. Then we go into marketing. I teach you how to work an event. Mariah, you do really well with working events. So I'm very specific in like what you need to do to work an event, like a booth, right? Or at a fair or something like that. So I thought about really specifically, what do you need to do? And so I've got, just an asset on what you need to be doing. There it is. Call, email, text, call, email, text, call, email, text.
Yeah. And these are, events are amazing. We leave events with like 600 leads, and they're people, when you do it right, they're people that are totally expecting you to call. You call and you're like, hey, you come in my booth and told you I was going to call you. And they're like, oh yeah, and you're good to go. Right. It's a lot better than coming out with, even if you're coming out with 1,500 people who don't remember you and have no idea why you're calling, and it's a bait and switch. Like, the way you work events really makes a difference in the success of that.
Yeah. And the event itself is the fun part. The work comes afterwards. And that's where most agents drop the balls. They'll have 500 leads and they won't work them properly. So that's really what I'm trying to teach. And then again, the video talk and the asset really talks you how to work the event properly, be active, interact with people, get them over, make sure you're raffling something off, all that stuff.
Oh my gosh. So every time I see a booth, like there was a new agent down in California I was talking to, and I just follow him on Facebook, and he put a picture up, and he had the booth, and him and his team were standing behind the table. And I was like, don't stand behind the table. And then one of them was sitting down, and I'm like messaging Ruben, and I'm like, Ruben, get your people off those chairs, take the chairs away. And he's like, they can't stand all day. I'm like, yes, they can. And
for one day they can.
Oh my gosh. So I gave him tons of advice, and he was like, okay, it worked really good. I'm like, there's just certain things you do and don't do at events, especially if you want them to produce business.
Yeah.
If you're just there for brand recognition, fine, sit down. But I don't think that any of us want to spend money on events and not walk away with business. It
No.
defeats the purpose.
Yeah. I talk about how to market to mortgage brokers. I talk about marketing ideas that did not work for me. I've made plenty of mistakes. So that video is about things that did not work for me and why they didn't work for me. You guys are going to get a lot of phone calls from people that want you to advertise in different places and give me $1,000 to be in this magazine or be on this grocery cart or to get a billboard. Like these
golf course,
golf course.
Get those
Yeah. Be
all
on the
the time.
scorecard, things like that. Like, hey, I've learned the hard way. I'm trying to save you guys some money. I talk a lot about internet leads. I think internet leads have become, I don't know, internet leads have been around for a long time. I mean, I worked them 15 years ago. But I talk about my thoughts on what internet leads really are and what you really have to do, if you want to be successful with them. It's internet leads are an interesting animal. And they are not really, they're not given to us and they're not sold to agents in a way that we really understand what they are. And for any of you that know and have worked internet leads, you know what I'm talking about. They're tough and they can be draining. But I talk about, if you want to work those, you want to work them properly. This is really some good mindset for you. This MailChimp this is the claims. Using MailChimp for retention. That's where I build up my claims. I love social media. It's been a really important part of my business. I've learned to be pretty good at it over the last 10 years. I'm an early adopter with many things. And so it's really been important in building my brand. So I talk about how to get more Google reviews, which is really important. We use a product.
I cannot believe agents don't do that. I mean, no. I Google, when I'm talking to agents across the country, I pull up their city and type in insurance, and the most reviews any one agent has is 100. And most of them have like 5.
I know.
I'm like, dude, you need to do this. It's so easy to stand out.
Yeah. And it was years ago where I was like, I really think that this is going to be important based on the way people are shopping for everything these days. And so, and I'll tell you, my Google reviews feed me every month. People call every month. And so it's important to get those up. So I teach you how to do that easily. How to use Instagram for branding, how to do a simple video series. I do tips. I do something called Gone in 60 Seconds, where I put out tips, simple insurance tips for the general public on what they need to know about insurance. Like everything from like, do I need to buy the rental car insurance when I rent a car? Like, how do I insure my jewelry? Are slow leaks covered? Like, I try and do all of those real in quick bite-sized videos. So I teach you how to do that. I teach you how to find the content for that, which is really easy. So that's there. How to use LinkedIn to brand your agency. I teach you how to blog, and I teach you how to do a podcast. I love to podcast. I do 3 podcasts. I'm kind of addicted to it. I have a problem. But if you watch this, you can have a podcast up and running in 48 hours. So I've got that in there as well. I've got a whole section on life insurance. Life insurance is an important part of what we sell. So I talk about how to set how to have the conversation with people to set appointments. All right. And then how to determine how much life insurance they should be buying. Like we shouldn't be guessing. Like you can't sit in front of, I see a lot of agents that are like, well, you need about $500,000, but they have no idea, like, where did you come up with that number? So this video has a formula on how to determine how much life insurance somebody needs to have.
That's one of my favorite questions whether it comes to liability or the life insurance amount, just simply saying, why did you pick that limit? And they're like, I don't know. That's what the agent said. Well, why did the agent pick that limit? I don't know. Yeah. I'm like, interesting.
Yeah. There's a very simple,
what are the chances formula. That's
right? Right. And so you need to get that right. If you do this and you do it right, you will sell much larger life insurance policies. And so, and then how to sell permanent life insurance. So like we have the IUL, I like to sell the VUL. So I walk you through a full blown presentation on how to present a large life case. And so that's there. And then I have an intro to commercial insurance. So commercial is something that you probably want to write more of. And it's a pretty big, it's tough to learn. So this is a real simple way to dip your foot into commercial and how to get started in there. And now we get to staffing. Staffing is probably the most important part of what we do. I've had 18 staff members work for me in 18 years. I've got a great crew now. I think I finally have some things figured out. Gosh, there's so many things that agents, I think, don't do right. I don't think they get the most out of their team. I think that they keep bad employees for too long. And so what I'm trying to urge agents to do is really build their proper team as fast as they can. And it's hard. And you're going to go through some trial and error, but at the end of the day, you really need like 2 to 3 really good professional people working for you, and it will change your life, you know? And so I teach you how to do that. So how to interview, I've got a whole list of interview questions in there, how to do the interview, what to really look for, what nuances you should be listening for. You know, everybody lies to you in an interview. Like, it drives me nuts, but you have to try and do your best to identify. So I've got some tricks in there on how to really identify like a good salesperson. What questions do you need to ask somebody to really determine if they can sell or not? Everyone thinks they can sell. Very few can sell well. And so this interview style will help you really get a better chance of hiring a good salesperson. And then once you get them hired, how do you set how do you set proper expectations for them? What should you be delegating to your team? How do you get the most out of your team? I've got an employee manual in here, which is almost worth the price of admission all by itself. Let's see, how to bring on a producer, and then having hard conversations with staff if they are not performing well. This is a skill that I had to learn on the fly, you know? So if you have an employee that's not performing well, what's the proper way to sit them down and to correct their action or get them out? And that's what that video is for. So the staffing stuff is some of my favorite stuff. It's really important. And it's something that we all have to work on to get better at. And so I'm trying to accelerate your knowledge through the experience that I've had, you know,
I
working
think
with
you
so
could
many
sell
people.
this course just with staffing piece, because at the end of the day, most of us probably did not become agents because we wanted to be a producer for the rest of our life, or have to go to our office from 8 to 5 every single day and not have a day off or work 80 hours a week. Right. We wanted to be business owners and have the lifestyle and the freedom that comes with that. And you just cannot do it without staff. I tried for
Nope.
a long time by myself thinking I could do everything. And then it's just one of those lessons, like you say, you learn it and then you have to move on. But I mean, if you just that piece of it, if you just dove in, you skipped all the other modules, you can skip ahead, you said in some of those, you know, and start with staff. If you can, you know, if you're selling and marketing and you got opportunity, but man, you just don't have any people in your office, I would do that first, because a couple key people can completely change your life, your work-life balance, your revenue. I've never had more employees than I have now, but I've also never had more revenue, more freedom than I have now. And that
Right.
is definitely worth it. So
Yeah.
I love that you have that portion. I'm super interested to see your employee manual, because I did mine through like a employee handbook through like my payroll company, and it's
Yeah.
expensive and we have to update them every year. They're
Yeah.
not cheap, and they're not insurance specific. It takes so much time to create those. So
Right.
that is a huge time saver.
Yeah. That was good. Yeah, staffing is it's the most important thing that we do, you know, and it's the one thing that I think agents I think agents settle for their staff. And it's the one thing you probably shouldn't settle for. So and then let's see, miscellaneous. What else do we have in here? So how to work NOCs in your office. This is something that a lot of people have to learn how to do. Notice cancellations. I encourage you to find a mentor, you know, so I talk about how to find a mentor. You know, this isn't something that you should have to all figure out by yourself. So I talk about how to find a mentor. I'll give you a list of questions to ask a mentor, you know, and so I found a mentor very early in my career, and I've had mentors my whole career. We need help, you know, we need support. And the one thing that I can say about farmers for sure that I learned pretty early is that farmers agents are generally pretty giving with their time for their colleagues. I remember after going to a Toppers Club early in my career, like I had dinner with like the agent of the year or something like that. And I was kind of in awe. He was like a rock star. I was like, oh my God, the agent of the year for the whole company. And we traded business cards. And like 2 months later, like I came across his card and I called him because I had a question, and he took my call, and he spent like 20 minutes on the phone with me, and I was just in awe of that. And so I've really used mentors. I've become a mentor because I believe in giving back. And so it's really important. how to join a networking group. BNI was like really important to my professional growth and the growth of my business. And so I get very specific on how to be successful when working a networking group, what you should be doing, who you should be meeting with, how to build those relationships, how to get business from them. The phone is really important when I talk about best practices for phone use in the office, how to have hard conversations. I talked about having hard conversations with your team. Well, what about when you go head to head with a client? All right. And you got someone coming in with a full head of steam. Like I talk about how to have some of those conversations, because those are tough. They're emotional. People get upset. We do work in an industry where like bad things happen. Disaster response is baked into what we do. And so emotions can run high. So how do you de-escalate a tough conversation with a client?
I will tell you that piece, like, I don't care how good you think you are at your job or that will never happen to you. It is just inevitable. I have been in customer service for 16 years and have had those off and on. And we even had one where we were like babysitting this claim through, right? This customer has a home claim and we were like, we just need this, we need a couple things from you. So we we're waiting for some paperwork. And the guy literally like remodeled his whole bathroom, fixed, like covered up all the damage, did all this stuff. And I had checked in every 3 days. We checked in. We have emails, text messages. They get to the claim end and the adjuster's like, we can't cover this. Like it's gone. I don't even know what to do. Right. And so I'm telling the client and they're like, well, I think it's actually on my Google reviews. I have a bad review from them and they're mad about it. And I responded back and I'm like, well, I contacted you every 3 days and you ignored me for 4 weeks and then covered up the claim. Like this customer was livid pissed, which I mean, fine, but there's sometimes no matter how good of an agent you are and how much you hold people's hands, it still goes south. So
Yep.
having those skills is very invaluable because no matter what, it's going to happen eventually.
Yep. Yeah. And sometimes they come out of nowhere. You're caught off guard, but
I was for that one, I was totally caught off guard because we have a very clear process and just lots of follow up. And I'm like, how? But
right.
so it'll happen to you. So like, don't breeze over that. Know how to de-escalate conversations and always be covering your backside with good processes and systems and notes because it'll happen.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Let's see, just a couple more. How to deal with claims, how we handle claims in our agency. That's I think, well, you'll have to watch the video. I won't get into that too much. How to build a support team around yourself. I think the one thing that I think agents maybe aren't aware that they can do, and something that's really important that I've done that has really helped kind of accelerate some of these processes, is that we have great alliances with good people in every department. So like if I need help with something in commercial, I know who to call in commercial. They know me by name. I've spent time with them on the phone. They can answer my questions. We can move an application faster. We can work on getting discounts. So we've got people in claim, we've got people in commercial, we got people in life. One of the smartest things that I've done that I just got lucky with is I learned to communicate directly with adjusters when it comes to should I file this claim or not. So I've got home adjusters, auto adjusters, home and auto supervisors on the claim side that I can call, that I have relationships with, that can help me through a tough claim. Should we file this? Is this going to be covered? Because I got so tired of calling and asking if something's going to be covered, and all they could tell me was, well, you have to file a claim to figure that out. And I hated that, because I don't think that's doing the client a service. And so building the right team around you with people that you trust and can communicate with has been really invaluable to me. Time management is something that we all struggle with. I struggle with early. I told you I read a lot of books and done a lot of research on how to be efficient with my time. And so I teach you everything I've learned with how to be productive with your time. And then how to control the rate increase conversation with your clients, which is something that's probably as important today as it ever has been. So how to have that conversation. So Mariah, that's the course.
Cool. That's awesome. Like I had no idea I had that many different pieces of the operations of an insurance agency in there. It's very thorough.
Thank you. Yeah.
And
like I said, it's everything I thought.
I haven't seen a program like that.
Yeah. It's everything that I wish I knew. I talk to a lot of agents who are going through the training that their company provides, and it's fair at best when it comes to preparing them for what it really takes to run an agency. But it doesn't have most of this stuff. And it's me, it hasn't been run through legal, it's just me telling you what I know in the way that I talk and the way that I teach. And, but it's all laid out there. And, it's doing really, the agents that are working this program are seeing really great results. So.
Do you have on your, and maybe I should ask you this before we started recording, but do you have like, do you have any testimonials or reviews or anything like that of your, of the system that we could like show people?
Yeah, I do.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'll get those
Cool.
to you.
So when we post the video, I'll put it up. I love that I don't have to edit this video. Some of I have to edit because of customer privacy information. So I don't have to do that, which is great. So I can get it up on the site, and we'll, of course, put Matt's information so you know how to reach out to him, and ask more questions and put those testimonials up so you guys can review that. But really, I would say, even if you aren't new to the insurance industry, if any of that really resonated with you, if you're like, man, I am not good at like conflict resolution with the staff members, or I just can't keep an employee to save my life, right? The extra pieces in there, even if there's one section that really grabs your attention, it's going to be worth it because you're going to grab value from the rest of it as well. And at the end of the day, like you mentioned, you said in this call, there's value in every program. And we buy leads, we spend money on marketing, we do all these things, but I see that there's a big gap in agents and business owners investing in themselves and their own knowledge base. Because at the end of the day, I could buy this program and I'm going to have a very different execution level than you or another agent down the road from me, because we're going to implement it different. We're going to have different consistency, and we're going to put a different amount of energy into it. And at the end of the day, if your agency is not what you want it to be, the only place to look is in the mirror. So if you are not investing in your own education, your own expansion as a business owner, I mean, you are where you're at, right? You're not, It's not going to change. So unless you decide to learn from others to kind of speed that up, or just make the mistakes yourself, I never bought programs or hired consultants until 2019. Bought my first one, always thought I knew better than everybody else. It was just arrogant and stupid. And then bought my first program, and it just changed my trajectory. And I was like, now I just buy them up. Like, I don't even know how much money I spend on courses every year, but I love it. And I take something from everything. So pick something, once a year, twice a year, whatever, but always spend a couple hours every single week investing in yourself. And I think Matt's program would be a huge benefit to any agency. And it's very thorough. I'm really impressed. So I really am excited to get into, because you gave me access to it. I got to get in there and look at it now.
Get in there. I know. I'm glad. Thank you for showing interest and having the call and letting me walk you through it, because I'm proud of it. It's my whole career laid out, in all of these videos and everything that I've learned. So I'm hoping just to share what I've learned, and I want everybody to succeed. This job is really hard. We can't do it by ourselves. And like you said, if you're not invested in your learning, like, you're going to stall, at some point. And so I think that this program helps accelerate agents' careers like years, if they implement the practices and they do things. So yeah, it's everything I know. It's laid out there for you. So
no, I agree. I mean, I talk to agents that have been agents for a month. I've talked to agents that have been agents for 35 years, and there's still stuff in your program that they don't know, and they tell me they struggle with. And so it doesn't really matter how long you've been doing it. These are skills that everyone has to have, no matter what business you're in, but I love that it's geared towards insurance. So thank you so much, Matt, for your time. I really appreciate it. I hope tons of agents reach out and use this to elevate their business and their own knowledge. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now, and we'll get this up probably today, actually.
All right. Thank you.
Cool.